Welcome to Year 6 of European Entrepreneurship and Innovation at Stanford Engineering. My name is Burton Lee. Today is the first lecture in 8 of 8 sessions here at Stanford in the academic year 2014. We're very pleased to present, to be focusing today on France and Russia with 2 great speakers from leading startup accelerator and venture capital firm in Paris and Moscow, Alice Zagury and Sasha Galitsky. Alice, who is CEO and co-founder of TheFamily, which is a very interesting new accelerator on the scene in Paris, just in recent months. And Sasha Galitsky, representing Almaz Capital, who's one of the early players on the venture capital scene in Russia and now acting and moving beyond Russia. What I'm going to do is give an overview briefly of what they'll be talking about, our lectures for next week, and then a course overview, and then dive into a little bit of the course business for the students here. This is an active graduate level course here at Stanford. So just to point you to the websites of the family in Paris, one of the things I really, one of the reasons I invited Alice was because I really love the design, the strong design element and flavor that they've developed at TheFamily. This is their website. I encourage you to visit. This is Almaz Capital, which also has offices here, as well as where else? It's Silicon Valley and Moscow at this point. Correct, Sasha?
Yes.
Yep. This is the 85% of the speaker lineup we have, and the countries we're covering for 2014. We're spending a lot of time this year down in Southeastern Europe, in the Balkans. We'll be presenting our first speakers from Bulgaria and Croatia, also Austria, and we'll be presenting additional speakers from Hungary, Switzerland, Slovenia, Estonia, of course, Denmark, from our Flemish Flanders partner out of Ghent, France, and of course the United Kingdom. The topics we'll be touching on generally are issues of its essentially comparative entrepreneurship ecosystems. We talk about the differences between Silicon Valley and Europe, but we also talk about the differences within Europe, West Europe to East Europe, Northern Europe to Southern Europe. The companies we're presenting and venture firms that we're presenting here this year cover, for example, Cedars out of London is the leading UK and European equity crowdfunding startup today. So Jeff Lynn is going to give us a very good overview of what's happening on the equity crowdfunding scene in the UK. We'll be touching on enterprise software, herd management, Internet of Things, cows, farm management out of Croatia, big data, product design, and maker movement in Europe as well. This is our list of speakers and countries we're covering. Just to give you a quick overview, going all the way from Hungary and Turkey to France and Russia. All of this information is on our website, which I encourage you to visit. So our first speaker is Alice Zagury, co-founder and CEO of TheFamily, which is a very interesting accelerator, very new player on the Parisian front. Yes, so thank you, Alice.
Okay, hi everyone. My name is Alice Zagury, and I'm really happy to be here today with you, and I wanted to warmly thank Burton for offering me this huge opportunity to explain you how it works actually in the startup scene in France. And so I'm going to try to give you within less than 20 minutes how it is, as a big picture of France. So we have some French people here. If you disagree, please raise your hand. We love debates. We are French. Okay, let's go. So first, I'm going to try to give you really quickly the French context. Then I'm going to talk about the family's mission and the family activity. So for the one who doesn't know Paris, Paris is a very beautiful city, okay? Everything happens almost in Paris, in France. We are a very centralized country. And the family is based right in the middle of Paris, in the 3rd district called Le Marais. It's an old district, and it's where actually all the startups, the young startups, are based. So, how it works in France. it's not a surprise. We've been undergoing the crisis. It's basically three main things: growth that is going bad, unemployment that is at its highest level since 16 years, and it's huge public deficit, right? So the answer to this was high taxes, and as a consequence, Standard & Poor's downgraded twice France in the past 2 years, right? So it's not really a good environment right now. But to really get the atmosphere in France right now towards innovation and digital environment, I wanted to focus on two stories that happened several months ago. The Uber story and the Dailymotion story. So you all know Uber, right? The app that drives you home, the private chauffeur. They actually choose Paris also as a city, so it's available there. The problem is that in Paris, in the lobby of taxi driver is really strong. Okay, so as an answer to protect the cab companies, the government impose a 15-minute wait for each user who is calling for a chauffeur. So this gives you just a flavor of how we treat innovation there. And also the Dailymotion story. So this was a bad thing, for a bad sign given on France. Dailymotion, you all know Dailymotion, yes? Who doesn't know Dailymotion? Okay, so Dailymotion, the French version of YouTube, I would say, was offered by Yahoo to be bought, but the thing that the government was a shareholder in Dailymotion and directly said no. So I'm not saying that these two reactions are bad. I'm just saying that the way it has been done has given a lot of bad signs on France. And recently, the junior minister, Fleur Pellerin, which is in charge of digital economy, has just started a new initiative called French Tech. French Tech, it's $300 million of dollars to be invested in structures that promote and help innovation. So let's see what happens. Now, about the topic, about the investment side, the seed investment side. So if you compare France with the other countries, we in Europe, we are really not bad. We are not that bad. We are the yellow part here in terms of amount of money that has been invested in seed rounds. So just after UK. But in terms of numbers of deals, actually, we are really good. And here you don't have the size, but it's 46 deals only, so it's really teeny, 46 deals that have been done by VCs investing in early stage startups in France. So to give you the comparison with Silicon Valley, in Silicon Valley, in the first semester of 2013, it's about 800 deals, seed rounds that have been done. In France, it's 46, okay? So it's not even 5%. Silicon Valley, the whole country, France. So just to give you an idea. But that being said, this is why I'm here. This is the most surprising. It's in the past years, we've had in France the biggest European acquisition. Okay, it's Adobe who bought New Lane for $600 million of dollars. And I really invite you to go through this website because this is really interesting to see how France has produces great startups. So just go and see BlaBlaCar, which is the biggest European car sharing service, or the biggest Deezer, who is the best challenger, I would say, for Spotify, Withings, who is the connected AdWords for health, or Criteo, who just did its IPO recently, and so on. So why we have this paradox. I mean, France produces a lot of good and really highly skilled people, and there is no one startup here in Silicon Valley without a French engineer. But in the meantime, we are really few startups. So I could explain that this way. The French ecosystem is said to be toxic toward entrepreneurship. It's not a friendly, startup-friendly environment for startups. Maybe because everything has been designed, I mean, the legal environment, the administrative environment has been designed for startup, thinking that startup were only smaller versions of large companies, which is not true. You know, a startup is an organization looking for a business model, okay, when a company is exploiting a business model. So if you apply the rules of the big companies for the startup, you just kill them. And now, if you take one step back and you just look at France and try to understand our culture to really get a real glimpse of who French are, then, sorry, I wanted to add this slide. So when the American Dreams tells you that anyone can start from anywhere, from scratch and dream big, elitism in France tells you to go to school, to the best school, to get a diploma, to get stamped in a way, and to belong to a close group of peers, to respect the elder, and to remain humble. So I'm really cliche, and it's a lot of caricature, but I have 15 minutes, so I have to really give you this type of idea, okay? In France, it's really like we see things as being really planned and centralized. So we cannot really work. I mean, we are not used to work thinking that innovation can spread out from serendipity, from these tiny garages. You know, it's not the mindset that we have. Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, we see things as if we could control it and plan it, whereas innovation is more for organic type of organization. When it comes to mentoring, so this is something I really observed when I started my career as an accelerator manager. So I started the first startup accelerator in France, which was called Le Camping. I was an employee of a non-profit organization working for innovation in France. And I really observed what did program with the Y Combinator. And I tried to do the same in Paris, okay? So I thought the ingredients and tried to copy paste it to France. And one of the biggest ingredients is mentoring. So they all talk about mentoring. So you have this experienced entrepreneur who give back. The thing is that giving back attitude in France is not the rule. In France, we'd rather be polite and loved than true, but hard. So if you want to get feedback when you're a young entrepreneur, it's actually hard. Plus, if you add this to the fact that we don't have such an amount, we don't have Airbnbs, Dropbox, Facebook, eBay, Amazon. We don't have these crowds of people who are experimented. So we have few experts, a lot of money, and we don't have this natural give-back attitude, right? So actually mentoring became paternalism when I tried it in France, meaning that I would put my young startups in front of experienced people, and they wouldn't provide them tools and concrete feedbacks, but rather tell them, listen, son, I would go this way because I'm older, I'm telling you to do that. You see the attitude, it's really different.
Alice, who is that?
This is Louis XIV.
Louis XIV.
Yeah, exactly.
Who was the husband of who?
Marie
Antoinette.
Exactly, Marie Antoinette. No. Okay. Maybe.
Keep us moneyless.
No, he's saying this because before I've putted the picture of Marie Antoinette, and he said you cannot put the picture of Marie Antoinette. You'd rather put the picture of Louis XIV. He embodies better French archetype of hierarchy and everything. But yeah. So transaction relationship. This was me. I wanted to say that we won't do business going like, okay, who is the most efficient, who is the most competitive, but rather work and do business with people who have been recommended, okay? And so on. And we are secret people, okay? So open pitch session, speaking on stage, receiving feedback, it's not really our thing first, okay, in terms of culture. Right, so you have the big picture now. Let's start with the family. So I took this list of things that are deeply in our culture, and I tried to tackle each of them step by step, one by one. So this is our mission. We nurture entrepreneurs with education and fair advantage and capital. To really get it, this is at the very beginning, 3 people. So I had a professional crush on Oussama Ammar. I wouldn't have started this without him. So Oussama Ammar is an immigrant. He was born in Lebanon. He came to France, he was 8. So this is important to understand, because when he came, he was the one in his family in charge of filling in the form, the administrative form, to get the French citizenship, okay? It was rejected more than 15 times. And this is key to understand how Oussama is not afraid by the administrative monster, the French administrative monster. And this is a first barrier, okay? If you're not afraid about administration, then maybe you can start something. If you add to this that at the age of 12, he started to code. He sold 2 companies before 18. He went to Silicon Valley. He learned a lot from there. He invested in more than 21 startups. He is the one trying to build up a scalable acceleration program for startups. And Nicolas Collin is actually a key resource also. He is key for a French accelerator. He is an engineer, an entrepreneur, but he's been through the school, what we call the school for president in France. So you have school for president, l'ENA, administrative school. Okay, if you go to the school, then you belong to a certain elite, which is the officials. And in France, you know, everything when it comes to digital, to the economy, to the innovation, somewhere hidden there will be the government, okay? You have to play with them. So either you decide not to see this, or you just face your culture, you just face the way the context is in France, and go for it. And what we decided to do is just to educate the officials. So the family is actually an organization that is trying to align the interests of the key players of the ecosystem. We're trying to start an ecosystem from France, understanding our differences. Okay, and me for myself, I just had the chance to start the first accelerator in France, which was called Le Camping, and to meet and to become really passionate about this environment and willing to change the world from Paris. So this is my team, a lot of females. They are all dedicated to design and fair advantages for startups, okay? So the main goal of the family is to design tools that will help startups to start from Paris. As an example, we have more than 50 deals for startups. We have Amazon Web Services, so servers for free for startups, or an agreement with a local law firm here in San Francisco who will help all startups to be Delaware incorporated if they want to, with a deferral. Okay, so the question we want to solve is this one: how can we scale acceleration, right? And how we do it. So we just launched in March, and we really try to, as I told you, to tackle each problem, each barriers that prevent you from starting your company from Paris. So we focus on the things that appear to be important for us. Okay, an office space is not important, so we don't provide space. We don't really focus on incubation in terms of a desk and the printer. So what we have is a house in the heart of Paris where we do our educational events, dinners, and workshops. And if our startups are not based in Paris, because some of them are not based in Paris, then they can follow online the workshops, right? Being French means that you love food, okay? So all my teams, every Thursday night is dedicated to cook some delicious meals. And actually that's a way we can start to speak openly and to share the secrets, right? We invite Silicon Valley guests every Thursday night, and that's a way we shape our community. So no batches. Why? Because I learned that I first copy-past the model of YC, but then I try to do the thing the way it could work in, our way, our French way. So why should we treat the startups regarding their age? So we decide to treat the startup on the base of achievements. Okay, so it's in a way it's kind of a gamified accelerator. It's all based on your achievement, and you will go from a level to another regarding what you've achieved. So most of our startups are at the Phoenix level, meaning that they really focus on the problems that matter, and they have to develop a product, okay, to find the magic. The Phoenix is the image of the innovation, constantly renewing, okay, so testing, trying, failing, until they get this, what we call MVP, right? And then step by step, the more achievements you have, the more unfair advantages you get. For instance, if you're a Phoenix, you're not invited to the Thursday dinner, okay? So this creates kind of incentive for you to go faster. Here, what I call the dark matter is actually something really important at TheFamily. As ecosystem builder, TheFamily has a goal to educate all the people who don't know yet that they are entrepreneurs. This is something really important in France. We have this paradox of having a lot of highly skilled people, but such a few amount of startups. Why? Because in between there are many people who don't even know that entrepreneurship is an option. Okay? So we have to make this path available, and this is what we call dark matter. So dark matter is all the hidden entrepreneurs who don't know yet that they're entrepreneurs, and how we reach them, it's through our online videos and all the open events that I'm going to talk about. So we are secret people. So why should we show to the world our list of startups? Right? Because if we tell to anyone who are this, because now in TheFamily we have more than 74 startups since March who trusted us, who believe in us, and who decided to go with us. We decided not to publish the list of startups. Again, secret people, French people. Why do we do that? Because we knew that once you give the list, you don't have a second chance in France. If you give a bad impression, see, if your first impression is a bad impression, it's not good, right? So what we say to our startups is that first you will have some good metrics. You will have a real traction. You have to be educated. And when you're ready, then we introduce you to a venture capitalist. And the venture capitalists, they trust us for having educated entrepreneurs and solid teams with a real product, right? So when they're ready, we introduce them to VCs. And the thing is that we at TheFamily don't really, it's not important for us if you are incorporated in France or in Delaware, right? It all depends on your market, it all depends on your strategy. So what is funny is that you wouldn't even know that these startups are French. Mindy is actually now based in Silicon Valley. So I really invite you to download this app. It's really addictive. So it's 3 people who came out from an art school, so they are artists, designers, and it's a kind of wine for music lovers. I mean, just try it. It's really good. We really believed in us. Just with 1 or 2 introduction here, they raise funds at a good valuation with high-level people such as Ron Conway. Okay, Algolia the same, and TV Showtime also. So when startups are ready to raise funds, then we introduce them. Okay. No mentoring, technical workshops. That means that we really want to focus on providing tools to the startups, okay, and getting out of this paternalism atmosphere. I don't know if you have followed what happened recently with a Y Combinator, but program just released a new legal vehicle that allow a startup to raise funds without debt. Okay, this is called SAFE. In France, what you have to understand that we didn't even have the convertible note. So the convertible note is a way to raise funds without talking about valuation. Okay, when you are a young startup, you don't know yet what is your valuation. It's so hard to raise funds that when you find an investor, then you have to enter the second phase, which is a negotiation on the valuation, right? So when the program came out with this new legal vehicle here in the US called SAFE, we just, okay, this is too much. We have to do the same in France, but in our legal context. And that's how we worked a lot. We partnered with a local law firm, SB Avocat, and we offered here, which is basically agreement investment rapid, accord d'investissement rapide, which is open source, offered to the ecosystem, and that would allow any startup to actually raise funds without talking about valuation and without being in a debt mechanism. We do it with we do it with the French way, meaning that it's a house. It's a beautiful house in Le Marais, TheFamily, and there is no typical conference room. It's bedrooms. So Paris is famous for being the first touristic city in the world. So let's invite great CEOs, investors from Silicon Valley to have actually an entertaining time in Paris. And this way, we're going to help them to really merge with our startups, right? So that's how, for instance, the founders of Pars spent a month with us at TheFamily. And really connected with our startups, right? And this is a picture, for instance, of Pars is there, and the founder of Globni, Vivek Wanva, that you might know, founder of Free, it's a French entrepreneur, Xavier Niel, etc., etc. So this is for the educational part and the unfair advantage for our startup. But we also have to educate what I talked about, which is the dark matter. And we've created 3 meetups that are open meetups, partner with a local school, engineering school, art school, business school in Paris, so that we can provide this education to these future entrepreneurs. Growth Hacking became the first meetup in France, actually, within 2 months. We're talking about concrete tips to get viral, okay, without spending any euros. Rendezvous is actually office hours on stage with a great CEO from Silicon Valley. And Get the Swag On is basically is how you can mix design artists in the startup scene. I told you we need to align the interests. Nothing can happen if the government doesn't follow and doesn't understand. So every other Tuesday at TheFamily, we decided to create this event, very private event called Barbarians Attack. And this is my third co-founder, Nicolas, from this school of president, who is actually focusing on one industry, insurance, bank, finance, luxury, and he explains to these official people who are the barbarians from Silicon Valley, okay? What do they do? And this is a way to actually understand, and understanding is the first step before being good towards innovation. And Barbarians Attack is actually now really well, I would say, successful at all levels, like meaning a lot of officials are asking us to keep on coming every other Tuesday. And finally, the most important, this is written in our manifesto. Partying is a serious matter. When you see yourself as an ecosystem builder, you cannot only focus on serious things. You also have to entertain people. And you know, business startup wasn't sexy until recently in France, and I really wanted to show that we can be young, we can be dynamic, and we can get involved into the startup world. So during Le Web, we launched a big party called The Other Night. Le Web is a great conference organized by Loïc Lemer that you invited here. So yeah, that's it. We have been really inspired by program. So I hope you understood that the family is really French, okay? We didn't copy-paste only what the best accelerator has been doing, but we try to keep the mindsets, the Silicon Valley mindsets, with these radical mindsets in our context, in our French context, with our differences. So thanks, that's all for me, and I'm happy to answer your question.
So we're going to give each speaker their own Q&A. We're going to bring them both up at the end. Who has the first question for Alice? Yes, sir, at the back.
So if you watch French TV, you know certain things like you have some very good high school teachers, and because they ask these questions about history, about Latin, about gastronomy, you know, 50 different kinds of quiche and so on. And you have excellent products, you know, the cuisine, the wines, the brands like champagne, yachts from Antibes. Don't throw these things out. But what you need to add to the high school curriculum is maybe a class in, you know, teaching the kids how to raise their voices and be more entrepreneurial, be more creative, challenge authority. But don't throw away the classical high school teacher.
Do you have a question?
That's, do you see an importance for changes in education like that?
I mean, at first I totally agree on the fact that food and many other things like luxury are things that we need to keep as strengths in France, and that's also why we are focusing at the family on this type of startups. And secondly, regarding education, I mean, it's really a big topic. The thing is that I don't think it's a school in itself that will teach the youth to become entrepreneurs. I just think that we need role model and people in France that start their own startups, and this will show the way. I don't wait for school to actually show the way.
Yes, sir.
A couple questions. How are you funded? Second, do you take equity positions in your companies? And three, what exits do you anticipate for your companies?
Okay, so first we have been raising funds with angels and index ventures. Okay, so at the very beginning, only angels, and then index ventures joined because they loved two of our startups, and they say, okay, it's not possible that the latest two startups come from the same accelerator, then we need to be at the very beginning of the accelerator. So they invested in us. And second question, yeah, we take 1% equity, which is really nothing. It's nothing, because we wanted to attract the best startups in France. And now let's see what the reality of the market will give us as a price. Maybe it will raise, but it will never go up to 5%, after 5% for sure. And this had allowed us to have 74 startups within several months, okay? And the best ones, because it's more than 1,200 startups that applied to the family. And the third question was, I mean, what we are
Exits.
focusing on, I mean, for us, is to have the next Google. We see ourselves as a long-term investor, okay? We're not here to do small deals and to exit quickly. We really want to stay a long time in our startups. So the main goal for the family is to be here for 20 years.
So my question is more the
Sorry,
exit.
I'm sorry, sir. We have to go on to another questionnaire. Yes, sir. Last question, then we need to move on to Sasha.
My question overall is about idea generation. It's twofold. First, you talked a lot about dark matter, and I thought that was interesting. How do you get these aspiring entrepreneurs that you spot into idea generation mode, and how do you help them spot the problems they want to solve? So that's the first part. The second part is, in Europe, a lot of the new ideas have been organic. Mindy is one of them. But we've also seen a lot of copycats. And what is the share of, in your 74 companies, of copycats? And what is your point of view in these? Because they can also be great opportunities in Europe.
Okay, so first to target the dark matter, it's a really, really long-term work again. So what we do is that we have an online strategy, putting a lot of videos, open events, and we are not, how to say, planificator on this. Like, we won't spot people with potentials. We just open ourselves as much as we can so they can come and grab what they want. But we don't spot people and tell them, okay, you have to start something with us. We provide tools and we show how we are open. It's not really hard, actually, once we believe in you, to get into the family. I mean, the process to come in, it's just an email. Okay, there is no form to fill in. If we like you, you just get in and we start working together. If we don't like you anymore, then you get out. Okay, and we give you back your 1%. This is the way it works. So it's really free to come in. It's really it's quick. So this plus the communication plus the fact that we are training a lot of growth hacking strategies actually online to target this little island of hidden entrepreneurs who can be anywhere, and most of our efforts are online to grab them. And to be able also, what I say to all of my team is anytime we receive an email from anywhere, we have to give an answer by one day. Okay, so to show that we are really accessible everywhere, on Facebook, on Twitter, by emails. So being open and always answering to these people. So no plan, but open, being open. And on the other side, regarding copycat, I mean, this is not a problem. If you have a good, strong team and the market hasn't been taken in Europe, let's go for it. Okay. If sometimes the Americans throws away, that's good. Okay.
Alice, thank you very much.
Thank you.
So Alice flew in all the way from Paris, and Sasha came in actually last night from Zurich, right?
Yes.
So both of our speakers have come a long way. Sasha, thank you very much for telling us about what's happening on the Russian startup scene.
Yeah, I prepared pretty bad, since I prepared the typical presentation which I'm doing for entrepreneurs. But I understand I need to speak more about Russia. So I will try to go through. So where are we going? Yeah, so, okay. So I have a long life, and I 3 decades, 1 decade working for Russian space industry, and actually watching states from space, and never thought that I will travel outside of country. And after this, built few companies, and I work here for 4 years in States, working with Sun Microsystem mostly, building companies, selling companies, and I found that for a Russian-speaking guy, it's very difficult to raise capital. So in 2003, I decided to invest my money back to Russia. Since at this time I live in Europe, I back to Russia and started to do so. And who knows that Evernote actually a Russian company? Not so many, but many use Evernote.
I didn't know that.
Okay. Who knows that Parallels, Russian company? Again, not so many. How many people use Mac and Parallels? I don't know. Few at least who use Mac knows who is Parallels. Who knows that Acronis is Russian company? Again, not so many. I stepped to Acronis and Parallels where they was in 2003, 2004, they was $500K company. Today, they over $200 million companies, and they achieve this pretty fast. Who knows about Kaspersky? There is more people know that it is a Russian company. Too many publications about Yevgeny Kaspersky, ex-KGB guy. So it is, everybody knows that it needs to be a Russian company if it is ex-KGB.
If it were Evernote, we'd probably guess it was Russian.
Okay. It is actually, it is Pachikov behind the company and developers from Russia, since I was first investor in Evernote. But the point is, what I wanted to bring is that it is Russian landscape is different from France. France secretive between themselves, but Russian secret for rest of the world. And we try to keep secret who we are and what we are doing. So I will jump through my presentation, which is very quick. I will leave this presentation since then I will speak more about Russia to bring you knowledge about what is the Russian scene. So it is clear that no one has today. If you're speaking about Russia today, actually it is some type of Israeli and United States model, since Russia became the biggest European internet market, for your knowledge, for number of internet users, for number of spending money in the internet, right now close to Germany, which is first in Europe. And today, European countries, many countries, including France, start up, moving to Russia since it's close, to try to do internet stuff. Since the two biggest European companies in value, in market value, Yandex. Who knows company Yandex? Few. But Yandex beaten Google pretty heavily since own almost 60% of the market share. I mean that in Russian market. And spreading the activity outside of Russia very actively. Since it is not just that it is Russian language, but it is and not it is better search in Russian, but is also the better service in many stuff. Yandex introduced, for example, traffic many years ago, like traffic jam in Moscow and many other cities. So Mail.ru is a second company, which is over $10 billion company also. Now moved to States, as you know, my.com. You can watch some steps of second biggest internet company. All these companies together over, so it is not comparison to Google or Apple, but in Europe it is the biggest companies right now in internet, since two of them over $10 billion valuation of the New York Stock Exchange and London Stock Exchange. So, and from this point of view, it is this stuff which presented as a slide. Russia has two models, model which is including domestic development and a model which actually support my fund. It is fund which is moving mostly companies through bridge model. For this reason, we have pretty strong office over here, especially in our second fund. We easily raised second fund $200 million in half of year. So in comparison to many American funds and in comparison to many European funds, we did this very easily since we demonstrated pretty good exits in first fund in very short time. We sold few companies, including Quick to Skype. So we did Skype IPO of Yandex and some other small exits, which bring for us 49% IRR in the fund, which is pretty compelling to the top level of let's say, second-tier level in Silicon Valley. So why? Since we have a lot of raw material. It is not about only Russian engineers. It is about entrepreneur spirit, which people need to have and to grow. Russia always has entrepreneurial spirit. If you take Tsar time, moving to the east, and during communist time, it also was very difficult. I remember my first business when I was 14 years old, and I was arrested since I produced electric guitars. It was illegal at this time to do the private business. And all my equipment in-house was arrested, and I had troubles with police, or militia at this time. But it is entrepreneurial country in general. So it was needed some stuff to drop in country to move the movement. But speaking about all pictures mine, it is picture from France actually. The stones from France. We need to have these core stones. In comparison to Russia, we have scientists, we have inventors, but we lack of entrepreneurship as any other place, even have the spirit. The point is that when we're speaking about science, we build knowledge, yes? So, but knowledge without action means nothing. So if you don't know how to put knowledge in action, so you cannot build anything. So the innovation for me is the process to convert knowledge to the money, actually, to create something valuable. From this point of view, it needs to be ecosystem. Here is clear ecosystem. We know what means Silicon Valley, and nobody can repeat it, and no one needs to repeat Silicon Valley anymore in modern world in general. Since comparison to 90s, when I needed to fly each month to States or live here for some time to build my companies, right now I can get a lot of through modern technology. Yes, so I don't need to be on each place each time. So I can build company from other place. It is what I presented as a companies at the beginning, which compelling names like Parallels, VM, one more company. It is a very deep technological company as well. It is I'm speaking right now about even repeated entrepreneurs which came from Russia. Like Ratmir Timashov built his first company, Elita. And in 5 years, he built VM and sold to Quest Software. Now, even having restriction since he returned his green card to the United States, he got very big trouble to live now in the United States. He needed to move to Switzerland, and manage company from Switzerland. But he achieved with VM, as I'm mistaken, for 5 years, he got a company to almost $500 million revenue. So it is what you can find on Russian territory. And it exists many companies which not getting any venture money or not getting any money from anybody and build company pretty fast. So by this way, if you look on this myth of venture capitalism, so they actually, I will say that Russia, they definitely have sense that it is not truth. Venture capital in Russia is not the primary source of the money. Today in Russia, if you're speaking about Russian modern situation, government put huge amount of money to entrepreneurship. So Russia, I'm actually Ukrainian who live in Russia, so I was born in Ukraine and speak Ukrainian. But in general, when you're speaking about Russia, in the past I've suggested to visit Kremlin in Moscow. Who been in Moscow? So who did not visit Moscow, visit Kremlin. So you'll find two pretty interesting stuff about Russian spirit. First of all, you will see the biggest cannon gun which never shoots. And the second one, you will see the biggest ring bell which never ring. So idea is that what's staying behind Russia looking on everything is very by big picture. So if we decided to build road between Sochi and Krasnaya Polyana for Olympic Games, we spent, as you know, from press, almost $90 billion to build some tiny road. Will this road will be used? No, we just try to impact world by something crazy and something big. So the same spirit sitting in many entrepreneurs, especially who came from 90s or 80s. So modern entrepreneurs completely different. And my reaction for the copycat is will be when I took this phone, iPhone, and Samsung. Is it a copycat between phones? Sure, yes, since all companies copy each other. So I don't see anything bad about copying if it is invent something new. So from this point of view, in Russia, now a lot of young entrepreneurs, they bring in the copycat model. We as a fund don't invest in this, since our fund is focused to bring technology on global scale. But many other funds, like Rocket or like Tiger or even Excel, London, or something, who invest in Russia, they invest in Russian copycat, in internet copycat, which is possibly a good strategy. But when you look for entrepreneurs in Russia mostly don't like to get external money. They would like to build bootstrap. And they bootstrap company as long as possible, which is right. Possibly it is not typical for Silicon Valley, but you can find in Russia companies which are trying now making 10, 20, $30 million without any venture money. So, and they selling this through internet, through Digital River, and I found very interesting that many American, let's say, special forces, like Air Force or someone, using security software from Russian companies. Some of them doesn't know that it's a Russian company since they register it in Delaware. So, and no one from Russian territory visited this Delaware. They even don't know, as you guys possibly don't know, where the, I don't know, Kaluga located. So, same for many guys in Russia. Yeah, I will not stay with my presentation, since my presentation, as I told, I just will use this as for your entertainment on the background. So I did this picture in Istanbul. And this one actually in Barcelona, if you can recall, who visited Barcelona. Main point that when you compare that number of money which was provided in 2004, nobody knew what mean venture capitalism in Russia. In 2004 happens the first event which will create first event which show few companies for Western VC, and nobody invested money from Western people who came to Russia at this time. No one invested in Yandex, no one invested in Parallels, no one invested in Kaspersky, no one invested. Many of these guys now telling me why we miss it. The point is that, of course, it is different culture. French culture is different, possibly more close to Russians than for Americans for some historical reason, but yeah, we're close. Like, I like this joke that it was sexual harassment event in US, and people went around, one big company went around the all world in all offices and visited Moscow office, and they had meeting with employees. And after this, one of the person who came around, he came to two ladies staying next to printer. He asked question, how has sexual harassment in Moscow office? And he got answer, not enough. So it is about cultural difference, yes? So by this way, it is difficult, and we have example of the person when we took one guy, very good, serious guy, like very senior position in one American company, and he decided to be CEO of the company which came out from Ukraine, which built by guys in 3 years, and they got $5 million sales on global market without venture money. And we decided, okay, we'll put money, we'll bring American guy, he will run company, will be great. And he came first time, nice food, nice discussion, everything's fine. And after he's brought financial advisor to look through books. When he looks through books, first of all, as you know, we have different books in Russia. It is not which you use over here. So when they went through books, they found, okay, it is a paying for rent of their office by cash. So it is big culture shock for people, since cash is okay, but if it is provided without agreement, it is bigger shock. So by this way, we need to clean many companies before to present to Western world, since the culture different and people would like to survive. And it is a problem of this bootstrapping, since they save each penny to keep company going. And you need to spend at least half of year to clean company. Even people want to clean it, but at the beginning, they still go through this type of procedure. Since exists many stuff, like some people try to compare Russia to China, that it is no IP protection or something. It is lawyers' claims, yes, so don't trust this. So in Russia, it's pretty tough protection of IP. And more important in Russia, very important, your reputation. If you lost your credibility, it is very difficult to rebuild this in Russia. So from this point of view, I don't believe in story for IP. So, but back into story, it is we have approximately in 2003 no venture money. In 2013, it is almost 2.5 billion venture money came to Russian startups. But more important, which is I started to see many, even American guys coming to Russia, since with opening of South initiative, Russian government decided to fight with corruption by following way. So they decided we are not giving investment, we are given grants. So now very easy when you apply to some programs in Russia, you can get up to $15 million grant, which means you getting money for nothing, just for great idea or great movement. Yes, so it exists few initiatives like Skolkovo. I don't know, you possibly read something in press. So Russian venture company, some of them given grants for companies if you become a Russian resident company, of course, not American resident company. But you are getting grant up to $15 million to exchange for what? Just to be a Russian registered company, nothing else. What you need to give your change your, let's say, mind to become Russian company. I will tell that it is not so popular of repeated entrepreneur guys, but it's very good and very popular for guys who build in their company first time. And they come in and get in this ability to do so. So, but this way, this amount of money which came from zero to, and we now in Europe, number 4 in venture financing. So first one is UK, of course, Germany, France, I don't know. Labor law is too bad in France. In the past time, I hired people in France to my company and needed to fire them 1.5 years. It is too bad for startup. So from this point of view, it is, if you're speaking about landscape, it is now territory. So Russia has big territory. In comparison to other places, possibly like US, we have, here you have Silicon Valley and Boston and some other areas where the different activity is going. In Russia, activity going everywhere. Since I back you to this cannon gun, since when Russia decided we became innovative country, each governor of each region became innovative. Each place became innovative, and everybody started to say, we have startups, we have everything, we would like to keep them in our places. We don't like them to move to Moscow or somewhere. But the biggest school, which is everything is going, it is Moscow, Novosibirsk, St. Petersburg, Yekaterinburg, Tomsk. You forgot already first names, except Moscow and St. Petersburg. But idea is that few centers where the activity is very booming. I will make comparison. In 2008, when we started fund, and we backed by Cisco and some other guys, second fund backed again by Cisco, Eric Schmidt, and all my friends. So who wanted to believe and to put money in this venture. We don't have any Russian money in our fund. So I had possibly 10 business plans per month. Even I hate business plan. I don't read them. But right now it is possibly 100, 200 per week. So it is becoming, when you're speaking about today, during a very short period of time, it is like went very big acceleration. Problem in Russia is few. Of course, political, people can look from political point of view what is going in Russia, but for business it is stable. Yes, so people believe even Putin somehow, some strange person, flying with birds, diving to deep Baikal, and doing many other stuff which is more discussed. But from other side, it is a very stable situation for business since people understand that nothing will change. But from other side, it exists more important difficulties, exits. So exits, it is same in France. I don't know how many companies will buy in France startup. It is not like here. So by this way, we provide companies for global. Since in Russia, you don't, even if you will start to recall, in US, you know that average Google deal, if we'll take few deals, big deals out, it is only $25 million average deal. So in Russia, it is more tiny. So you need to work hard with where you will sell and how you need to develop the company. One more difficulty is not so many acquirers. In ICT sector, you have few, like 10, 15 companies which can buy something. When you're speaking about one more, it is oligarchs. It is most difficult enemy in Russia for entrepreneurship, since they started to spread money everywhere. So many people make wealth and would like to, I'm getting proposal when I started to raise second fund. I started to get proposal from like Russian oligarchs to get money, like each one would like to give $100 million. So, and I met with 5 and I told I don't need your money, but 5, they easily spread $100 million to something. And now if you tell in 2007 was possibly 11 venture funds, even with government money, since Russian government created some few funds with size $100 million, it was like 8 funds, possibly 12, 11 in this fund. Right now, 72.
72 different venture funds.
70, you can name them differently, but 72 different venture funds. which most of them supported by oligarchs. And this, it is a lack of managers, lack of understanding how to develop the companies, and it is money is flowing in Russia. So to raise money in Russia is very easy, I will say, and prices for companies is too high. So in the past time, it was a discount, like, okay, it is a Russian discount, it is a similar company in the US, 5 million. In Russia will be pre-money, for example, 3. Right now, sometimes you will come, it is 5 million in the US and will be 10 in Russia, since it is becoming pretty high opportunity to raise capital from different sources. So how to deal with this, it is a separate discussion possibly. In Russia, it is also, when we're speaking about how people deal with VC, it is a problem that one more difficulty is that in Russia, law doesn't protect minority participator in the stuff. When you provide even investment, if you don't control 25.1%, according to Russian law, it means nothing. So you don't have any rights in company. The second one, Russian law doesn't support the option plan. So by this way, all our company, when we invest, we register somewhere else, and we invest in the places where it is working the English law, at least. Delaware or BVI companies. It is 2 types. So Netherlands companies, you know that, for example, Yandex, it is Dutch company, Kaspersky is Dutch company, according to registration, or Swiss, Netherlands, BVI, or Delaware. It is a major option to their stuff. So this slide I like, since I like questionnaire. So I found that it is nice to build questions to always for yourself. And we know that to build questions is very important, since we have, I don't remember how many working days, we have approximately 12 or 14, depends from the legal law, 1,000 working days. There's not too many actually. So you always need to remember what to ask yourself, what to do and what not to do. So, and what will possible to make. So I collect questions from other people and add myself, and now I add approximately 225 questions to ask about entrepreneurship and about building companies. And it is not for due diligence, it is just to make test of something. It is usually it is what we expect from entrepreneur. It doesn't, and risk is also very important to measure. Since we work always with something what we don't know, we need to estimate it. So the biggest risk in Russia, as I told, and in comparison to all territory, you need to understand that if you need engineers, you need to go mostly not to Russia, you need to go to Ukraine, since Ukraine doesn't have visa requirements. So it is why Ukraine becoming a bigger destination for people who try to get engineers. Recently, company Ring Central came to IPO. It is also built by Russian guys who was here, but most of developers live in Odessa city, nearby Black Sea, in Ukraine. So you have few centers in Ukraine where you can go and also get the engineers, pretty good engineers, and software developers. Will be Kyiv, Lvov, Odessa, Dnipropetrovsk, and Kharkov. It is most places where you can get them. So,
Thank you, Sasha. So the official end of class time is 5:45. So Stanford students, if you want to take off now,
I forgot to tell. I shared the actual report about Russian innovation ecosystem.
Yeah.
So it will be published. You can get a lot of facts and numbers for your essay, if you will write about Russian entrepreneurship. So
Thank
it
you.
is there all dates and facts.
We're going to be going on for another few minutes for the Q&A with Sasha and Alice. Would you guys care to come up here? Since we're both. And Dave, can we move the mic?
It's fine with this.
Okay. So any questions for Sasha? Yes.
I
Barris.
wanted to ask, how does corruption affect startups in Russia?
It is the same possibly like in the United States, I don't know. So since usually corruption affects everything related to the government bodies. There is no difference in any country, what I found through my long life. So, and all startups built around not government service and government business. So by this way, I don't see, I even tell I built many companies, I never touch any relationship with government, except when I built first VPN here in States, and after this back to Russia, my passport was revoked for 9 months, but nothing else. So by this way, when you work in high tech, I don't see the problem in Russia at all.
Thanks.
Eitan.
What are some of the greatest strengths of the entrepreneurs you see in Russia? Because I think they have some also very unique characteristics, some of which you touched on. But what do you think they bring to the table compared to other entrepreneurs from other parts of the world?
No, I will tell it has changed. Yes, so if you're speaking about 90s, since I am related to 90s entrepreneur, we didn't understand too much about business. Yes, so when you're speaking about companies, as you know, 25% I usually count it as idea, technology, prototype. Yes, so at 75% it is how to turn prototype to product, how to turn product to business. So it is meaning all marketing and sales. In 90s, we did not understand this. So I built everything, like my first stuff, I built Wi-Fi for Sun Microsystem in 1992. So it's when I got investment from Sun. But in general, we didn't know how to sell it. Yeah? So I compete with technology. And same for Pachikov, who built Paragraph, and this time with hand recognition, which he sold to Apple, and after this hand recognition of Pachikov used still in Microsoft and everywhere. So we did not understand this. The second layer of entrepreneurs who did not have any links to old life, so who finished universities in 93, they needed to survive, like Belousov or like David Yan with Abi, I forgot to mention company. These guys started from scratch, so they new guys. And when you speak today from modern guys, like who was born after, like who now 23, 30 years old, they completely new guys. I don't see difference between speaking to American guy as an entrepreneur, or I visited some other country, or Russian guy. So no difference. In the past time, I used to tell that one guy is great programmer, two programmers good too. When it's three Russian programmers, it is Communist Party. So, but right now it is no more, this job doesn't work, so they are different.
Sasha, you touched on labor law a couple of times. Alice, what is the situation, how does French labor law affect building companies?
1.5 years to
building
fire.
startups in France.
Okay,
and
so-
what are the differences between Russia and France when it comes to labor law?
I think that in France it's really expensive. Like basically you pay the double that the people get. Okay, so the charges are big, and yet we're not really flexible in terms of firing and hiring fast. So the thing that you have to find this balance in a way, because this environment is a good environment where you have a lot of protection. So when you're a startup, when you bootstrap at the beginning, you cannot go through the typical path of hiring people because it's too dangerous. So you find solutions. I mean, you do it your way at the I mean, it's really not well made for a startup at the beginning, but I mean, it doesn't prevent good teams to start from there. It's not really the first thing. You were more talking about startups who are thinking about developing, foreign startup. I mean, if you're a foreign startup, you don't see the point of coming in Paris, in France. There is no point. Apart if you're in food, luxury. No, I mean, it's two different things. We have a lot of highly skilled people who should start from here, I mean, from France. But to be honest, I mean, we only have like 3 foreigners in the 74 startups that we have. Yeah, this is a big pity, a big problem.
Sasha?
No, in Russia it exists also Soviet, but in Russia many laws didn't change. Yes, so it exists Soviet law, which still is working with all, let's say, employment, but in Russia it is too many exceptions. When you sign agreement as you want to sign, so you protect it. So as an employer, you can put what you want. Actually, if other party agreed, it is easy to fire and easy to go. So, and the second one, in Russia, people don't believe in court systems, so they don't go to court anyway. So you just say goodbye.
Question? Yes.
So I have actually 2 questions. First one for Alice. Risk is a big thing in startup life, and especially the risk of going to a failure. And that's not something that I got, at least in my French engineering education. So how do you teach that to the entrepreneurs that go through the family? And is that something that you put strong emphasis on?
It's really hard actually to start, I mean, teaching a culture that is not yours. And we have a lot of ways to do it. Like, for instance, we write it on the walls. It's simply basic. Like, we write "pay it forward." It's written on every wall. Or, I was joking, but partying is a serious matter. It's written on the wall. And failing fast and not being ashamed is something that also is written, but it's something that you just show the way with role models. There is no other way to do it. And now we are really like hard on it, and you have to change the mindset. You have to be hard, and in a way, like parents, I see Usama saying all the time, like with a very angry, like, you should try, and you should be ashamed of not trying. And by being hard and repeating all the time the same things, and like showing in front of everybody that we are actually arguing with one of the startups because they haven't tried to fail, by celebrating with the group, like every other 2 months we all go together with all the startups, not the Phoenix level but the bigger one, to weekends in a castle. And we celebrate the good points. We show to everybody. It's like a sect in a way with good values. But it's the only way we found to spread this culture, So it's by doing, showing, repeating.
In many countries in Europe, entrepreneurs means unemployed person. Yes?
Well, we have time for one more question.
I have one more. Are you, for example, I know that there's some French students in the room right now. Are you targeting like people that had this exposure, for example, in the Bay, sometimes even in other European countries, to come back to France, to the family, and, I don't know, be entrepreneurs in your program, or just people to talk?
The thing, we're not trying to convince anyone to go back to France. We're trying to attract the best. So if they are based in anywhere else and that we have linked to work together and it's relevant, let's do it. But it's true that people who've been traveling and people who've been experiencing the life here, or more in California, they have a kind of advance, but that's it, and also some relations that are good to keep. But it's just an advance, and you can easily keep, this is not the point. You see Mindy, they came to the US with their innovation several months ago for the first time. And they had no link, but they were such a strong team with a good product that boom, it went fast. So it's not really our goal, or Yeah.
About Russia, I can say that people who went back, they built now very most interesting internet companies inside Russia, like Ostrovok, PVIP, and some other guys. So, actually, a French lady running the biggest Russian Amazon, Ozon. It is the biggest e-commerce company, French lady.
Okay, what's her name?
I will tell you, I don't recall all names.
Okay.
So I know that really good.
So both of our speakers has come a very great distance. We'd like to thank both of you. A small Stanford souvenir. Thank you. And we invite you to come down and network with the speakers who will be here for about another 15 or so minutes. Thank you very much. And please remember to join us next week for Estonia and Germany.